and this is Beautiful Nuki. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at how we can train our bodies to slowly come into this challenging pose, the Lotus pose, Padmasana. This is where one foot is placed on the opposite thigh. So some of us may find this quite easy, but for others it's such a challenging pose because it needs a lot of effort right here around the kneecaps. It's important that we move mindfully in the posture, and I hope some of these prep poses that you can practice will eventually help you to getting into the Padmasana pose. Let's meet on the mat, everyone.
To ensure that our knee is not compromised when we come into Lotus pose, we need to start to develop some openness and flexibility in our hips. So external rotation around the hips in some of these standing postures, such as triangle pose, is going to be really useful for us. The same applies for Warrior 2. As you can see, we are thinking about externally rotating our hip joint here. Ensure that your knee is stacked directly above the ankle. We come to the seated postures. So fire log pose is a great way to open up the glutes and the hips. Start by placing the foot just above the knee. And if you're not feeling much, feel free to draw the foot closer towards the outside of the thigh. Start first by leaning backwards, and you should already feel a great opening here. If you're quite open in the hips, you can start to move forwards and rest your forearms on the mat. This is going to be moving into a deeper variation of the pose. Remember, with Lotus, we really want to open up our hips. So this is why the seated pigeon pose, or even your normal pigeon pose, is going to be really useful for you. I like to cradle out my knee first and the hip, so I imagine as though I'm oiling the joint of my hip. And then I stay for a couple of breaths here, really starting to feel the opening sensations around the hips, and it's such a beautiful deep release that you can enjoy. The next posture is cow face pose, where we're trying to stack one knee above the other. I know that some students find this a little bit difficult to do so, and if that's the case, don't worry. Just allow your knee to come to wherever it feels good naturally. And I like to work this with eagle arms here because I love to feel this opening sensation around my shoulders. So you can do this pose to help open through your shoulders as well as get a nice hip stretch. JANU SIRSASANA is a wonderful way to start to lengthen through your hamstrings, as well as kind of get that opening sensation around the bent knee. Bring the foot as close as you can towards the inner groin, and then just fold your chest forwards, taking a few breaths here. Think about a heavy weight being placed on top of your knee as much as you can. The next step is to prepare you for your seated half-bound lotus, where you bring the foot up into the crease of the hip. At this point, you would reach the arm across and see if you can grab hold of the foot. Then you reach, in this case, your left arm up and fold across the left leg. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult for us to reach the foot initially in this half-bound lotus position. And so a great aid or a great way to help us is to take a yoga strap, and you can wrap this around the sole of your foot as being demonstrated here. And then it just gives you a bit of leverage so you can nicely come into the pose without straining yourself too much. To open up your inner groin and the hips in general, SUPTA ERIKONASANA is a wonderful way for us to do this. So you can come into a restorative version where you place blankets, bolsters, or blocks underneath your thighs. Or if you prefer, and you're flexible enough, you can just come into the pose without any support. Take a few breaths here and just allow your body to settle into the posture. Here we practice bound angle pose as you fold your head down towards the big toes. Imagine two pieces of weight placed on top of your knees and just settle here for a couple of breaths, really starting to open up your inner thighs and the hips. To enter full lotus, be comfortable in coming into your half lotus first, mindfully placing the foot as high up the hip as you can. Take a few breaths here. See how you get on here, and then maybe after some time of practice, you may be able to bring the other foot up high onto the hip. Always pay attention to what's going on in the knees, and if you're feeling any pain, it's not worth pushing yourself into it. Keep practicing the prep poses, and sooner or later, you'll be able to come into full lotus.
Hi guys, we hope that you found that tutorial helpful for you. I hope that you genuinely are able to incorporate this as part of your journey of learning. And remember, with practice, all is coming. So really just take the time, be kind to your body, and most importantly, enter each pose with a positive mind. In the meantime, do subscribe to my YouTube channel for additional tips and weekly yoga classes delivered directly to your inbox. Stay safe, everyone. Catch you soon. Namaste.